All right, guys, let's check out a boutique special edition for the Seiko Willard. This is the SPB288. Big thanks to Mr. G. Wood for sending this over. But if you were looking for watches like this, boutique editions, I highly recommend Exquisite Timepieces in Naples, Florida. I'll put a link in the description down below. They are currently out of stock of these, but as Seiko comes out with new boutique editions, get a hold of Nick down there, get your name on the list, because Seiko's kind of weird. Yes, there's a lot of limited edition. Yes, there's a lot of special edition. And then there's boutique special edition. They only do so many. They don't number them, but it's still kind of limited. It's pretty bizarre how it works. But they often do some pretty special colorways like this one here, where you have the rose gold on it, rose gold seconds hand, and then you have that beautiful, almost denim blue pressed dial. I'll do a close-up of that in a minute. But I measure this case at 41.75 millimeter, lug to lug 46, thickness just over 13.5 mil. You have a single domed chamfered sapphire crystal up top, 20 millimeter lug width, bracelet tapers down to 18. To meet the ISO certification, they keep the dive extension that some of us don't really like. I don't really care for it, but it doesn't bother me either because I never use it. Then you have the milled center section of the clasp, but keeping it thin is the pressed outer part here with 4 micro adjust and an oversized fold over keeper there. So this thing works really good. On the case back, it'll also be labeled Seiko Boutique Special Edition, and I'll zoom in on that in a minute. Inside this is the Seiko 6R35. Great movement, 70-hour power reserve. I clocked this one on the time grapher dial up with a full wind at -10 seconds. So running a little slow, but in my experience, Seikos often do not perform well on the time grapher, much like a Honda on a dynograph. But out in the street, out on your wrist, where you're wearing it, it performs great, just like that hopped up Honda on the street. But not bad analogy maybe. Anyway, these had a price tag of $1,300 when you could buy them brand new. On the secondary market, I don't see them rising right away, but currently I think you're going to be probably around that $900 price point if you can find a good example one. This one is a good example of one. It's very clean, other than a couple of smudges. But you can see that kind of denim dial. They just called it a press dial, but if you look at it, man, it's almost more denim looking than, say, the Omega Railmaster, in my opinion. I think it looks great. It's a great color combination. Nice little touch of rose gold coloring on the bezel, tied in with the seconds hand, and then that just perfect blue dial. Seiko does dials great. They do Lume great. Overall, their watches are just great. I have no complaints, other than sometimes they don't line up. This one happens to line up. 120 click bezel, pretty stiff action on this one, but sounds good, rotates around and lines up. So nice added benefit of this particular watch. There you go. Look at the case back, Seiko Boutique Special Edition. It does have a serial number and it does say sapphire crystal, all that stuff, but it doesn't have like, one of whatever 8,000 whatever limited edition they try to do all the time. So sometimes we start to think, is it really limited edition if they're all limited edition? Well, whatever. They're just colorways. They do runs of them. You either get one or you don't get one. That's the way it works. Let's pop this on my 7¼ inch wrist. Happens to be sized already for my wrist, and it looks, wears, feels great. This is a pin and collar sizing system. I'll probably do a newer updated video showing how to do that because there's a bunch of different, and I have a bunch of watches here that use that system, and they're all like subtly different depending on the construction of the bracelet, where the collar is, and that can throw people off sometimes. But I think I could probably show it in video where it'd be not as intimidating to novices, and they should be able to size it up themselves, rather than taking it in and risking somebody that is maybe not knowledgeable in it, but they still offer that service. In my opinion, I would rather do it myself and know exactly what happened to the watch, make sure all the pieces are there and everything like that. Unless you take it to a actual trusted, competent watchmaker that you know and have a relationship with, you know, you just take it to any shop that you're just trying to trust and you don't really know them. I've heard horror stories, and I'm sure you guys can comment down below, of, you know, people getting their watch sized up. They head out to the parking lot to their car and the thing falls off their wrist because it wasn't done properly. So be cautious of that. Okay. I also forgot to mention 6.5 millimeter screw down crown, 200 meter water resist. Let's kill the lights, check the lume on this thing, and then I'm out of here. There you go. Great Seiko lume. Anything less, and it's not a Seiko. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next vid.